In this video, I'm going to talk about the neurotransmitters norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin. But first, let's just talk about neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are amines. They are biologically synthesized, meaning that they're made inside our body, and their job is to transmit messages throughout our body about movement and mood. These messages get transmitted through or across nerve cells, which are also called neurons. This is a figure of two nerve cells or two neurons that are kind of side by side. These are the cells, the nerve cells that transmit the messages throughout our body about movement and mood. The messages are transmitted via neurotransmitters. The neurotransmitters are released by one of the nerve cells or neurons. They travel through a small amount of empty space between the two nerve cells. You can't really see the empty space in this figure, and then they're picked up by the next nerve cell in line. Let's look at a zoomed in area of just this particular spot. So this figure is showing, again, a zoomed in area between two neurons or two nerve cells. This is one of the nerve cells, and this right here is the second. So you see there's a small amount of empty space between the two nerve cells or the two neurons. These small little green dots represent neurotransmitters. Remember, those again are the chemicals that are carrying the actual messages. These neurotransmitters have made their way down the nerve cell. Once they get down to the very end, they get released by the nerve cell out these little pocket-looking things, and here are the neurotransmitters, the molecules transmitting the messages, crossing across this empty space, and they're going to get picked up by the second nerve cell at these little receptor sites. And again, in this video, we're focusing on three particular neurotransmitters: norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin. These three neurotransmitters work together to regulate our mood and our cognitive function. This figure shows how they work independently and also how they work together. For example, the neurotransmitter dopamine helps to regulate our reward pathways and also our motivation. The neurotransmitter norepinephrine helps regulate our alertness, our concentration, and our energy. Norepinephrine and dopamine work together to regulate our attention span. All of them, as I said, work together to regulate mood and cognitive function. Serotonin works on regulating our obsession, our compulsion, and our memory, and you kind of get the idea of this figure. It's really important in our body that we maintain an appropriate balance of norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin. When any one of these neurotransmitters gets out of balance, it can cause some negative effects in terms of our mental health. For example, if we have too much norepinephrine in our system, this can cause mania or manic periods. When we have too much norepinephrine in our system and we're under stress, the norepinephrine is converted to adrenaline, which biologically could be advantageous. If we have an excess of dopamine in our system, this could be associated with a condition known as schizophrenia. Slightly elevated amounts of dopamine cause us to feel high. Some of the illegal drugs, such as cocaine and heroin, cause these slightly elevated amounts of dopamine, which is what makes them addictive, one of the things that makes them addictive. Dopamine deficiencies, if you have a significant lack in dopamine, this is associated with Parkinson's disease. Serotonin imbalance is located or associated with depression. If you have not enough serotonin, it can cause depression.